Welcome to the Benji channel. My name is Benji. And this week's One Piece chapter was layered with extra spicy drama within the community. And not only that, the levels to the major reveal within this chapter are actually pretty wild. Now, before I get into anything, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the Benji channel. We have a lot of fun here, and hopefully we can continue to build the community. I don't care if you're a Sanji fan, I don't care if you're a Zoro fan, I don't care if you're an overall fan of One Piece, or just anime and manga in general. I want to create a nice little community for everyone to feel welcome and not be toxic. And while you're at it, go ahead and join the Geek Giant Discord. But no more wasting your time, let's go ahead and begin with this chapter review of One Piece 1065, The Six Faces of Vegapunk. So we start with a crazy dope color spread of the One Piece Film Red movie. And we see a plethora of characters. Now I'm not going to go too much into One Piece Film Red because I just watched it yesterday and the movie was absolutely incredible. The movie review on that should be up by next week, so stay tuned for that. And if you're not a manga reader, which I don't know why you would do that because this is a manga review video, but anyways, if you're anime only, there are a couple spoilers for the manga, so be aware of that. But moving on, so we don't continue with the battle between Law and Blackbeard, and I'm really hoping that we don't get that off-screened. That would be very tragic. And then also we don't even continue the conversation which seemed to be between Shaka and Dragon. And it seems like Vegapunk as well as Dragon, or the revolutionaries, have some kind of cordial relationship between the both of them. But we cut back briefly to the Straw Hat ship, and basically Zoro and Brook are protecting the ship and having a cup of tea. And low-key, I like to see the little interaction between Zoro and Brook, the two swordsmen of the Straw Hat crew. But as they conversate, Zoro soon wonders whether this is an occupied government island. And if they get into any trouble, who is going to get them out of the mess? And as him and Brook are discussing the matter, we get an appearance from Caribou, who is accompanying the Straw Hat crew for now. And to his surprise, he is upset that since Luffy agreed to give him a ride, he didn't necessarily agree to be placed at a potentially government island. And the funny thing is, once Caribou appears, Zoro nonchalantly gives him a thank you for helping in Wano, but then kinda tells him to get off the ship. And basically we see Caribou crying. But anyways, we catch up to Sanji's group consisting of Nami, Robin, Usopp, and Frankie, and they are amazed that they are floating. And Lilith, Vegapunk number 2, explains that this is a byproduct of fire. And she explains that fire can be converted to any form of energy. Now, it was also mentioned by Lilith that if only there was an unquenchable flame that was existent within the world. Now, this leads me to believe that in some capacity, maybe Linnarian DNA will have something to do with this comment. Or, and yes, I'm going to take it there, what if Sanji has some resonance with this comment as well? Now, it could also be a reference to Sabo, but Sabo's not in the story as of right now, so there's that. Moving on, the group moves to a separate section of the laboratory, and Lilith just seems to pass right through a steel gate. And this confuses the crew and how they are going to follow her now. Yet she informs them that they can actually permeate through the wall simply by walking. And then we see Sanji's head pop out of nowhere in a very funny panel. And let's take a quick moment to look at Robin. She's so bad, man. But they are guided by another Vegapunk, Edison, and Lilith seems to have gone missing at the moment. But then we meet our fourth Seraphim or SSG member, and it seems to be the child version of Jinbei. Now the group is very confused at why Jinbei seems to be a lot younger and why this Jinbei seems to also have wings. Frankie immediately recognizes the danger and immediately lets the crew know that this isn't Jinbei, this is a cyborg child. And the Seraphim Jinbei immediately attacks them with what seems to be a beam reminiscent of the pacifistas. And we get a little panel of Usopp, who seems to think that they have fallen into a trap, especially since this is government territory technically. Then the battle commences, and the first one to engage is Nami. Yet it is soon realized that this Seraphim actually has a Devil Fruit ability. Now, I will go ahead and say this. I'm not 100% sure from the Seraphim Mihawk that we saw, as well as the Seraphim Boa that we actually saw. I don't think we've ever seen, I think this is the first time that we've seen a Seraphim actually use a Devil Fruit ability. So that's very interesting as well. And not just any Devil Fruit ability, a hard-boiled Devil Fruit ability. If you know, you know. And Frankie, of course, immediately recognizes this Devil Fruit ability, and it is the Swim Fruit ability used by the great Senior Pink. Moving on, we see that the Seraphim soon grabs Nami by her neck. And this isn't gonna fly with my boy Sanji. So Sanji immediately springs into action and uses a unnamed Diable Jambe, basically right on the chin to the Seraphim Jinbe, seemingly bruising its chin and sending the Seraphim clear across the room. So for pretense, let me rant for just a moment, because this week was wild. Because there was an absolute flood of leaks surrounding a certain event within this chapter. And it was pertaining to Sanji the GOAT. Basically, the leaks detail that Sanji got his leg dislocated when he tried to attack the Seraphim within this chapter. Now, as a Sanji fan, I was looking at the information that was being leaked, and I was under the impression that I was going to have to fight for my life in the comments on Twitter, and especially Discord. I'm talking to you, Soma, and I'm talking to you, Party Pete. Shout out to the homies, as well as shout out my boy James. But lo and behold, it seemed that either the leakers who released the information were trying to push a false narrative upon Sanji, or they simply just don't know how to read manga. And this week, instead of posting what actually happened in the chapter, chose to push what I like to call agenda piece. And as a result, the false slandering of Sanji in these leaks overshadowed the main gist of what this chapter was truly about, and that was integral information on the Void Century. But I do digress, and I will give leakers the benefit of the doubt, even though I truly do believe that they're probably Zoro fans, which is okay, but as a community, we can do a lot better, especially you leakers. So that's all I gotta say on that. Now, mind you, this is the part in question where the leakers were saying that Sanji had dislocated his foot, and I believe that they were reading it like this. I'm gonna just post it on the screen right here. But while I think that Sanji is capable of much more within the series, I believe that this was a great showing of his power. And this pushes the agenda even more that Sanji is truly Yonko level, easily. Okay, let me chill. And then we see Robin, who actually attacks the Seraphim and is actually pretty upset that a Jinbe, or this false Jinbe, attempted to basically strangle Nami. And then also that is followed by an Usopp attack. Usopp unfortunately gets grabbed by the Seraphim, yet lo and behold, Frankie is there to stop it. Frankie, who wants some action, immediately readies one of his radical beams at the Seraphim. We then cut to a panel of some of the Vegapunk robots being pretty amazed at the potential of Frankie being able to use laser beams. And this is what I was talking about, that gratification, or at least that validation for Frankie to really come full circle, especially with Vegapunk being such a pronounced tactician or scientist. I think that's going to go heavy-handed with Frankie in this arc. This is truly going to be a Frankie and Sanji arc, I believe. But then we are introduced to Vegapunk number 3, who's actually a robot. Interestingly enough, the Seraphims are simply kids as of right now, yet it is implied that they will grow into adults, which is going to be absolutely crazy. They are this hybrid between the older Pacifistas and the new generation SSG, or Seraphims. Now, Lilith, Vegapunk number 2, is actually pretty angry because they almost destroyed the Seraphim. I guess technically, which is a good thing because they were in danger. But at the same time, I don't know where she went, so she just left them. And then, I don't know, I guess expected them to, not fight back, but, I digress. We suddenly see that Vegapunk number 3 actually has an idea for an invention. We actually get introduced to another Vegapunk, Vegapunk number 4, and Vegapunk number 3 basically leaves Vegapunk number 4 with the current situation. And not only that, we also see that Vegapunk number 4 is actually inputting battle data for the Seraphim. That way the Seraphim doesn't make the same mistake twice. It's kind of like how Meta Cooler is in the Revenge of Cooler movies. Basically, after he makes one mistake, he's not going to make that same mistake twice. And then we see another Vegapunk, Vegapunk number 6, who is basically smashing burgers. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of Bonnie. And I know that Vegapunk has met Bonnie before, but I want to see if Vegapunk number 6 was created as a nod towards Bonnie. So I think that would be funny as well. But this is very interesting because it seems like every single Vegapunk has some specific role that basically pertains to the main body of Vegapunk. Now, one very interesting concept, I don't think we've necessarily seen a male member of the Vegapunks yet. We've only seen females as well as robots. Now, and we don't necessarily know what Shaka is. So I do kind of want to see what's the deal with that. And this could be a nod to maybe Vegapunk wanted to have daughters, or maybe Vegapunk is a woman, who knows, but I think this is very interesting. But back to the crew, it is Vegapunk number 1 who actually steps in and stops the Seraphim. And I'm not gonna lie, he looks pretty dripped out. Look at this fit. Looking like a swaggy Daft Punk kind of outfit. Shaka, Vegapunk number 1, soon asks them whether or not they are the Straw Hat crew. And Sanji reluctantly confirms it, but is perplexed by the way that the boots have started to stick to the floor. And this is confirmed to be a precautionary measure for Vegapunk simply because he can't necessarily trust pirates. And then the discussion of introduction of more Vegapunks comes up, and then Usopp actually questions whether or not he may be a Vegapunk as well. But moving on, we soon find out something very compelling to end the chapter. Frankie, amazed at all of the technological advancements within the island, is actually boasting about this being the island of the future. But Vegapunk number 1 actually corrects him, and he says that this is actually the technology of the past. We move briefly actually to Luffy's group, and they have stumbled upon something massive. And we even have Jinbei saying this: if it could, how is that level of tech possible for something so ancient looking? We then briefly cut back to Frankie, who is confusedly asking Vegapunk what past means. And Vegapunk ends the chapter dropping this bomb. Well, what if I were to tell you that long ago there was once a highly advanced kingdom, not unlike Egghead when it comes to technology, a civilization from 900 years ago? Would you believe me? Meaning that the current age of One Piece could be considered a post-apocalyptic era of the world. And this opens the door to a bunch of theories, especially pertaining what may have happened during the Void Century, especially with the panel that we see of an armored Oni looking robot or something of that nature. And the fact of the matter is, whoever won the conflict 900 years ago, or basically erased the true history, was able to basically suppress all of the technology that was already developed by those ancient civilizations. And this kind of adds more and more darkness to the story of One Piece. And this kind of dates back to looking at Old Wano, the part that's kind of submerged underwater currently, which is very interesting. And then kind of dating that to the robot Oni that we see in this chapter. I mean, there's a whole bunch of theories. I'm gonna try to make another video, hopefully this upcoming week, detailing some of my ideas, but this is crazy interesting. And this kind of dates back to Doflamingo's speech, I believe, in Marineford, where whoever wins the war is allowed to tell their side of the history. And they can leave out anything else that may be conflicting with the history that they want to portray. So this is just so much lore, so much levels to this final part of this chapter. But that's the end of the chapter, and there's no break next week. Let's go! But with that being said, I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. This is all I love to see. I love to see lore piece 2023, 2022, whatever we want to call it. I'm very excited to see the theories that kind of come out, especially I saw a couple from Joe Sco's theories. Big shout out to him. I also saw a couple from Parvision that he may be working on, so I'm very interested to see those theories. I'll try to come up with some myself. You know, I'm not as brainiac as those guys, but you know, I'll try to come up with some myself. But with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to the One Piece chapter review. This is the Vinsmoke Benji channel. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Come on. And I really appreciate you guys for the love and the support. So, but with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.